You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. You know who I am by now. I'm Seth. I'm your host with the most, I guess, is what you can say. Something like that, whatever. I have Cody, is it Schneider or Snyder?
Schneider, yeah, you got it.
Sure. The
Yeah.
Schneider
The classic German.
Classic German. Cody is an acclaimed AI innovator and digital marketing guy. He is the founder of Draft Horse AI and Swell AI. So there's two, and it's drafthorseai.com and it's drafthorseai.com and swelলাই.com. If you go to swell.ai, it takes you somewhere different. It's like a book
it's swellai.com.
.com. It's the .com. So he's very big on AI and helping you get the most out of your audio. And when the Draft Horses looks really cool as well, it helps you get a lot of SEO articles out there and build up the oomph, for lack of a better word, of content on your site quickly so that Google can have something to sink its teeth into and people will have something to read, which is kind of nice. And you're really a big thought leader in the AI augmentation. So using AI not to replace you, but to augment what you're doing, to help you out, like with content.
Totally.
I'm talking nothing worse than having to sit back and transcribe it manually. Let AI do that. 100%. You don't need someone to transcribe it for you. You just let AI do it. Certain AIs are better than others, and the Descript is enough to edit it with, but it's not something to publish. I've played with Swell.ai. It's neat. It understands me, which is interesting for someone who's from Philadelphia. Nothing can understand me. Descript barely understands me. It's enough for me to edit. But I know one of your competitors, Cast Magic, understands me. So the ones that are dedicated to listening and transcribing understand me, whereas the ones that are meant for editing, we'll get there. So how did you find your way into all this AI stuff? I mean, what's the background? Who is Cody and why do we care, kind of thing?
Yeah, totally. Bullet point background or pedigree or whatever you want to say. I started off in e-commerce, somehow ended up in B2B marketing. I was working for an agency.
That happens. Somehow it happens.
Always does. I studied economics in college, dropped out twice, the classic story, and kind of just was building things on the side always. But yeah, I ended up working at a B2B marketing agency. Our really position in the market was we did strategy consulting for Fortune 500 companies that were in the manufacturing space.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it was awesome. But think, door manufacturers, windows, shower bases, super unsexy companies with purchasing decision time horizons, that are super long. So cut my teeth there. My boss, while I was there, had gone to Y Combinator, did the whole thing, went out to Mecca, saw God, came back and was basically using it in traditional spaces. My role was digital strategy. So what I would come in and do is basically audit the resources that they had available, build out the processes for their teams, and then we would basically hand off and train their teams so that they could internally run these.
And this is all before AI.
All before AI, yeah. We were all doing this on the human level. And then from there, I ended up in the Valley. I worked for this company called Rupa Health, joined as employee 6. Ended up helping them take them from a $20 million valuation to a $110 million valuation in about 6 months.
Wow, 6 months. Oh, wow. Because if you said 2 years, I've been like, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. It was wild. It was wild. But yeah, it was one of the fastest growing things I've ever been a part of. And then from there, kind of ventured out. Did a small stint at a crypto company, doing head of growth there.
You kind of have to cut your teeth in crypto a little bit. You have to kind of have a...
Totally. Yeah, we were one of those high yield savings accounts powered by DeFi. Our whole shtick was that we were non-custodial, meaning that the wallets and the keys were owned by the individual rather than creating like a whole pool. So they could pull directly from the network at any point, like without us. All we were doing was basically
it's more legit, yeah.
Totally, yeah. And so then we were using M stable and stable coins for all of it. And it was like everybody, we thought we were insulated and trying to, doing our best for that. Terra Luna, like the fallout happened, and so we got affected. And I ended up going and telling my boss, who's my friend, I was like, yo, if I was you, I would fire me. You no longer have a product, and I'm only valuable if you have something to sell. And so from there, ventured out and was just doing early stage consulting. And this is really the origin of Swell. We found podcasts to be this incredible vehicle for marketing. This is something we kind of pioneered at Rupa. We were selling to practitioners, and they traditionally are extremely hard to get in front of. Everybody's trying to sell to them because they always have money. And so what we ended up doing was spinning up a media arm of the company. We ended up taking a podcast, or their podcast. It's called the Root Cause Medicine Podcast, from non-existent to a top 20 medical podcast in the U.S. in about 6 months.
Wow!
When I left, they were doing,
like that 6 month window, don't you? You like
it
things around 6
was
months.
The craziest growth curve, and it was all kind of stacked up. So, but anyway, so from that, I was doing this. It was basically a CRM for insurance agents. Was the company I was consulting for. The most unsexy thing in the world, but we made a show for them. I was doing all of the, my whole strategy is make long form pillar content, chop it up into all of the different forms that we want to distribute through. Think newsletters, blog posts, LinkedIn posts, clips for social, etc. Then distribute it across all channels. And saw that happening. I was like, there's got to be a way to basically incorporate AI into this. And everybody that I knew was already experimenting with it.
You started it not AI. You started in this field, not AI-ing it. You're doing it the old school way. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Totally. Yeah. And then we saw this opportunity to basically like build this, marketing workflow. And that's really what I'm obsessed with, and what we're really focused on at Swell is we're trying to figure out, okay, what are the things that humans are doing currently? How do we automate away or augment their teams to get, 80% of that, heavy lifting done? And that's really where we're.
So what's your sweet spot with Swell? I mean, like I mentioned at the top of the show, I mentioned that there's others out there like Cast Magic. There's also Minvo, which was Memento, that is more the video side. Do you guys do video too?
We do video, yeah. So basically upload a piece of long form content into us, and it's going to turn it into clips, blog posts, newsletters. You can then send that. We have social scheduling built into the platform, so you can schedule out the
you gotta do that
directly.
Nowadays.
Totally. You can also publish like a blog post as an example directly from Swell to your website. It just goes as a draft. You click a button and it's there.
And then you should always edit this blog post, people. Always edit this AI. Don't just go like AI, boom. No.
Yeah. So what we're really obsessed with though is like everybody's trying to create some type of output, and how do we create the vehicle to build that workflow to create that output? And so we built templating into the platform. So as an example, you can do what we call prompt training. So for say you upload an episode, it creates a transcript, and then you're like, all right, now write a detailed blog post based on this, or detailed blog post outline based on this transcript. So it writes the blog post outline, and then I can chain a prompt and be like, okay, now based on this outline, write a detailed blog post. Now, once that blog post is written,
essentially, you are Minvo, and Cast Magic having a baby is you.
Basically, yeah.
Because Cast Magic, for those who don't know, only does text. Totally. And Minvo really, they'll debate with me, but they only really do video. Totally. You're kind of a conglomeration of the best of both worlds, which is really
100%,
cool.
100%. Yeah, I'm just trying to take whatever your source media is and turn it into anything that you want. And then, again, another part of that chain can then be, okay, now rewrite this article so that it's in a casual conversational tone. Use more vocabulary from the transcript, and you can even add like a persona of who you're trying to have it be written from. So from
write like Cody, please.
Exactly. And then, what we see is we can get stuff 95% of the way there. A human comes in over the top of this.
Yeah, edits it up a little bit, put some personality into it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Totally. But for, solo creators, that type of thing. And that's really where we started. We wedged in with podcasts. We're now starting to work with a lot of companies that are doing webinars. We're seeing traction.
Yeah, and it's video, audio, something that's just like
which is everything. Everyone's going there, right? So,
but it's too much of a bear to do it manually. It's
100%, 100%. But I mean, what's super exciting is like a lot of these companies, especially in the B2B world, they have 200 webinars they posted over the last 3 years.
Yeah, look at
they're like, what do I do with this? Right? I'm just sitting on this gold mine that I can't
treasure trove. Yeah, exactly. 100%. There's so much stuff there that you can mine to write a book, to do all this other stuff.
100%. And so what we're really excited about and focused on is, okay, imagine I build a blog post outline template, just like I described a second ago.
Yeah.
And that template I can apply to a project. I upload my entire back catalog of webinars, and I just wrote 200 articles, and they can all be published to my site in 20 minutes. And that's the kind of the scale that we see this content creation at. So,
I love it, man. I love it, dude. I love it. And I mean, and the best thing is it's affordable, which is really appreciated because podcasters, we don't have a lot of money.
No, for sure. And that was, something we learned really early on and realized that we were going to have to branch out into the larger just marketing category.
Yeah.
But where we see this going, because I get this question, asked every time I do one of these, is like, what's the differentiation? What happens with AI and all this? And like how we see the opportunity is what people are really trying to do at the end of the day is like automate a task or automate a job role. And so we're starting to see the inkling of this happening, like just with what people are asking for us on the product side. So this is why we built in social scheduling, right? They're like, hey, what I'm actually trying to do is I want to give you source files. I want you to find me like the best clips based off of, whatever.
I love that it finds clips that I'll never find.
Totally.
Or I will find, but it'll take me hours of listening to find these clips versus
Totally.
That's brilliant.
Totally. And then we built auto cropping into it. So it basically does active speaker identification. And so say you ask me a question and I respond, and then maybe there's some crosstalk. It'll basically isolate whoever's talking. And if there's crosstalk, stack them. We add captions over that. That clip can then be scheduled to all your social channels, do cross posting. But where we see, the exciting piece of this and what people are starting to ask for is they're like, hey, this is awesome, but how can you just make it so that it will just run my social media? And so this is the question that we're starting to explore of like, okay, well, we're calling her Jenna. It's this agent that we're building. And basically, how she functions is she has access to your entire back catalog. She has access to your social accounts. And maybe it's not even your core social accounts, right? Like in this hypothetical world, like you could have 20 Instagram accounts, 20 TikToks, and 20 YouTube Shorts accounts. And
but it's a lot to manage for a human. So if you give the AI lady, for lack of a better word, give the AI person a 3 of those accounts. Let's just say run these accounts for me.
Totally.
You handle the main one. Yeah.
And you hire Jenna. She shows up in your Slack, and it's $149 a month or whatever it ends up being. And she then is finding clips. She's scheduling clips. The clips are posting. She's analyzing the data to see what worked most effectively. She's going back to your back catalog and then creating this flywheel. And so we think that we can basically do that, for social media management. We think we can do that for SEO. We think we can do that for Google Ads, all of these different channels. And this is what we're really excited about, right? It's like traditionally, product companies, people are way better at product than they are at distribution. This is a classic, trope within the.
We're exhausted after doing the content. We're exhausted. We don't do the distribution
100%,
after that. Yeah,
100%. And so if we can just augment those teams, and you just have to focus on a good product, providing a great customer experience, and we're handling the distribution. Like really, the thing I'm trying to figure out is like, can we just make it where a company comes, they plug in, right?
Yeah.
And they give us access to all the things that we need. And then your company just starts proliferating itself. Like as long as you have product market fit, and there's an angle that it can go from. So, and again, it won't be perfect to begin with, but like I can for sure do an SEO.
That's the creepy thing about AI is the sucker learns.
Totally.
Sometimes it makes you jump off a bridge. Sometimes it doesn't eat glue on a pizza.
Totally.
Non-toxic glue. Like, give it credit, they chose Elmer's glue. Still, I don't just trying that.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, do you have your own algorithm, or do you tap into Chat GPT, or you tap into Claude, or you do a combination of all of them?
Yeah, we basically use whatever. We use all these different models for different aspects of the product. So like auto cropping is its own thing. But what we found to be the most effective. We could sit down and we could train these models, but by the time we have one trained, like what ends up coming out of this,
you're so out of go-to-market.
It's better to let these companies basically, and honestly, the open source community is doing insane stuff as well. So what we're realizing is that
of all people, Meta is doing open source LLMs, and I'm like, and Zuckerberg comes out, he's like, you should all be open source. I'm like, oh, bite me.
Like he's just doing it to eat up the market, which I love. Like, I feel like he's trolling, all these companies that are
He's
raising
one
to make
giant
these models.
troll. He's one
No,
giant
it's
awkward
amazing.
troll. I love it. It's
No,
funny.
it's amazing. But anyway, yeah. So how we see this going is, and
It's
where we
great.
see it headed is, the cost to produce AI generated content has gone to zero. Like, if you want to write 1,000 articles, it's nothing, right? But whatever you write is going to be very average. And when you think about it, of course it is going to be. It's trained off of the general knowledge of the internet, and the general knowledge of the internet is pretty average. And so the opportunity we see for companies and really the way to differentiate in this, the coming years with all this AI content is you have to provide source material from thought leaders, from experts, that then you're transforming into whatever, media or form of media for wherever you're posting it. So blog post, specific structure, LinkedIn post, specific structure, etc. But that's the only way that you're going to be able to differentiate as a company when it comes to content marketing in the long term now. So
I love it, man. I mean, I'm looking at your site right now. It's like, number one, you try it, you give it uploads, see how it works, make sure it's not going haywire in your stuff, make sure it can understand you. Very important. Take it from a guy who talks really fast from Philadelphia. Like, we don't say water, we say water. I mean, if he can understand me, it's something. So then $29 a month, 300 minutes. So it's like 13 cents a minute, which is
totally.
And then $49 a month for 600 minutes. It's comparable, 10 cents a minute for more. It's really awesome because it's affordable. And then also, I guess if you run out, you can say, I need another 60 minutes. Here's $8. Here's $9.
Totally. You can buy that one off as well. I mean, we work with from all scales of creators at this point, like from solo creators up to, like, we have clients where they have, one of them has 500 shows and they're publishing at least weekly.
Oh my God, that's insane. That's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
500 shows.
So totally. And so, there's just a large podcast network as an example. But yeah, I think.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Totally. But the big thing here, what we're trying to do is, like, again, it's not at a scale where it can replace people entirely, but if I can make them superhuman and make your team or just a single person like function like they're 10 employees, like, that's a super powerful thing.
Where
we see that across.
But that's where AI comes in, is that it makes you better at your job, because you can't replace it yet because it's going to tell you to glue. So,
Totally.
You got to watch AI. It's like watching like a 6-year-old kind of thing. So here's the question. So what's the best thing? Because you've done the corporate thing, the startup thing. You've been fired from startups. You've been hired to startups. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Because this is your baby.
Yeah, I think why I don't know if I really had a choice. I'm kind of a compulsion based human being.
Yeah.
For me, it was
entrepreneurs are that way. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I just really what it came down to is, like, I thought I was going to stay in the startup world, and
you're still there. You're still there.
At probably like a head of growth capacity. So
the more in-house
0 to 1
life and health insurance provided for you kind of stuff.
Whatever,
that kind of
whatever.
thing.
Yeah, totally. And so what I realized, thank God, early on, was a lot of the times the people that came, I had a friend that he was a co-founder of a company. They went through Y Combinator. By all measures, all accounts, unbelievable company. Total success. 5 years of work, and he I think he got 1.5 million in secondary, and I'm like, that's nothing. Over 5 years, you could have gone and made double that working at a FAANG company with, like, how good of an engineering is. And so I just saw that basically occurring and saw what was happening in the self-funded space. And I've owned companies in this, like, it's like smaller tool type of products, and also like agencies that we could use as cash flow to build out what Swell is turning into, this like larger platform. And so that was really
it's better to spend other people's money. Sometimes give it away some equity and spend other people's money so you can do it right.
I think now it only makes sense to go and get an angel round. Like, you're like, it's basically
I'm seeing VC round is not what you need anymore. You need at least a little angel, get like 1 or 2 people to throw you, a few $100,000 just to get something rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And then feel it out.
Companies and then, Creo AI is a great example, right? Like I think they in 4 months just went from 0 to 400,000 in MRR. And so, 5 million ARR run rate in less than 100 days or something absolutely
that's insane.
It's crazy, right? And the founder is literally like talking about what they're doing on his YouTube channel, right? Like that's the paradigm that's now existing with like, and the model has shifted, right? They gave away equity to top creators within their category. They're like, yo, we're going to give you a 5%. You go and you ship this thing. That creator was already.
Don't realize that 1% equity is a lot. Most advisors get 1%.
Totally.
If there are 0.5% even is a lot. If they
totally
exit at 100 million, that's a nice amount of chunk right there.
Totally. And all they did is they went and they found people that were shilling other products that were similar to theirs. And they're like, hey, instead of, being an affiliate and just getting an affiliate commission, let's partner on this. We're going to give you an equity percentage. Here's the expectations of how we want you to promote it. But you're already doing this, so just do that for us.
You're doing just, but here's a cut of the company. And it makes people more passionate. That's how they can.
I think what he said, and again, all this data is hearsay. I don't know. I don't have any insider knowledge on this, but
he's building in public, which is awesome.
7 days went to 20 grand MRR. Like, I mean, that doesn't in traditional VC land, that doesn't exist, right?
No.
And so basically, you can get these companies to scale so quickly that you can start to self-fund them, and they basically make this flywheel of growth, right? And historically, that's why you'd go raise. Is I'd go get a bunch of money. And I would then deploy it into growth, as that growth capital into the growth of the company. And every dollar that I get in more, I would spend basically to get this to happen. Well, now it's like we're seeing this with companies that are under 10 people. It's like 5 engineers and maybe 2 marketing people and then 3 contractors. Yeah. And they're basically getting these companies to 10 million ARR in
That's
12
incredible.
months. Like it's changed.
So on the flip side, you see this progress. You see, what the best thing about being an entrepreneur is you can do your own thing, and build out your own thing. You feel like it's your baby and stuff like that, and not be at the whim of, corporate and being cut when things are bad. It's it's you. But what's on the other side? What keeps you up at night with Swell and Draft Horse?
I mean, just this is moving so quickly, right? Like every day I see something drop on Twitter where I'm like that. That was impossible a week ago, right? Like I just saw this person that basically he built a AI agent that uses Claude Sonnet 3.5, which is unbelievable at programming. It's what everybody's finding.
Yeah.
But basically you can have this almost like chat dialogue back and forth. So imagine in like one half of the screen, it's like this chat dialogue. And in the other half, it's just like building out whatever the piece of software is that you're trying to create. And you're just like basically like
you can be an English major in code. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Exactly. And so like, what does that mean from a product standpoint? What does that mean? I mean, even as a marketer, right? Like it's like, where do I go find all these emails? And it just goes and it scours the webs and finds your entire target audience's emails. Right?
It's incredible. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like the only way companies die is like they just quit existing. It sounds so stupid, right? But like
it's obvious.
Basically, it's just it really it's just like you run out of money, right? So be default alive, and if you can get to that place, like at that point, it's just a game of who can. And I think that looking at biology, right? We get this confused often. We think that like natural selection selects the winner. That's not actually what's happening. It's killing all the losers. Yeah. And that is the same thing when it comes to companies. Like if you can survive long enough, you have a very high likelihood. Like if you can survive 5 years, you have almost like 100% like likelihood that you can survive 20, right? Most companies, almost 80% of them die in the first 5 years. And so if you can get past that threshold, you basically can live on. And so that's, the thing that I always try to keep as a mantra. Whenever all of this is happening, I think the other piece is just like for your own sanity when you're building this type of stuff, especially in the space that I am. Like tomorrow, a new model comes out, it totally decimates our business, hypothetically. I think that when to combat that from just a mental health standpoint, because like this is the part of the game you have to be at, be able to compete at this at a high level. You have to always be thinking, okay, like what's worst case scenario? Like I got to go get a job back in, with the skill sets that I have in digital marketing at an agency or a company. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's not the worst thing that could happen, right? And in reality, like, there.
You can always go back out. You can always go back out and do it again. Make some money, survive, and reinvest it. That kind of thing.
Totally, 100%. But I think the biggest thing as well, like another huge thing that I found to be incredibly valuable, is find a group of people that are at the same level of company growth as you are,
Yeah.
And like, even if it's 10 of them that are all kind of growing simultaneously, it just creates this cohort that you can basically bounce ideas off of.
It's
And that's
so
going to be, even
important.
if they've,
It's so
even if
important.
they're repeat entrepreneurs, even if they're first time, like just somebody that's at the same kind of like growth trajectory that allows, you're going to be facing the same problems at the same rate. And that allows for this, mutual learning. And this is why these startup incubators are incredibly valuable, right? Why do
they're
you go to
very
YC?
important.
It's
Yeah.
because you have 80 people, or whatever, 160 people that are all doing the same thing at the same time at the same moment. And you get to, basically have that group learning and knowledge acquisition simultaneously, and also creates this competitiveness. But anyway, yeah, those are I think the three things that I would say focus on if you're
Awesome.
trying
That's
to do
incredible.
this. So,
I mean, I'm part of Founder Institute, and I mentor there, and I love watching with the kids. Not all kids are my age. Sometimes they're 43 years old. But I love what they're coming up with, and then they help each other out. They all scratch each other's backs. Sometimes they become users of each other's products. It's fantastic.
Totally.
So Cody, where can people find you online? Obviously, SwellAI.com, DraftHorseAI.com. And you're on LinkedIn, right? You're always posting on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn and Twitter is where I'm most active. If you just Google my name, Cody Schneider, it should come up. If I don't, I'm very bad at my job.
Look for good hair and a beard.
We'll see how long.
Long good hair. I'm jealous.
My hairline's getting softer than a pudding cup, so I'm just riding this as long as I can. But
exactly, ride the hair, buddy. But Cody, thank you so much for being on, buddy. This is great, and hopefully you have some fun out in the wilderness. Idaho, you said?
Yeah. Visiting family. So, yep.
That'll be fun. You'll have some fun out in the wilderness. Kind of let your brain kind of release a little bit. It's kumbaya a little bit.
Do my best. Easier said than done.
We
Sure,
never stop thinking. Exactly. And guess what? Sure. We'll see everyone next week. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.